Doctor-assisted suicide is currently legal in just 6 states, but there is a growing movement to legalize the policy nationwide. Joining me now to talk about that, the state of assisted doctor suicide, is attorney Jeff Fieger. Fieger represented Jack Kevorkian, who was convicted of second-degree murder in 1999 for giving a terminally ill patient a lethal injection. Jeff, thanks for joining me.
I should tell you, Pap, that he was acquitted 6 times when I represented him of first-degree murder.
I know,
it's only when he
I was going to talk
himself.
about that. Right, that's exactly what I was going to talk about. I say he was convicted because, as you point out, when you were representing him, he was acquitted. How were you able to get the acquittal? What is it that the jury reacted to about Jack Kevorkian?
Well, he was convicted only because when you represent yourself, you have a fool for a client, and Jack was not a good attorney for himself. But really, there was an incredible predisposition among all people in this country to believe in freedom and the right of people to make decisions at the end of their lives as to how much they have to suffer without governmental interference. And as soon as the juries believed that those decisions were being made by not Kevorkian, but by the patient themselves, and that Kevorkian was simply a doctor carrying out the patient's wishes, I was able to secure his not only his freedom but his acquittals.
Jeff, it was amazing what you had to overcome in those many acquittals that you got for him. But this poll that I want to talk about shows that 70% of Americans support doctor-assisted suicide. That's up, I think it's up about 5 points from 2012. How do you account for this growing support of doctor-assisted suicide? What is your take on it?
I think it's inevitable for a number of reasons. One is common sense. 2, you know, as much as I abhor some of the things that are happening politically in this country, there is a movement within this country to get government off your backs. That's why it's utterly confounding for me to hear that poll, 70% believe that doctors should be able to make decisions with their patients, and government should get out of it, and yet they want to end, maybe it's the same thing, they want to end Obamacare. But the fact of the matter is that people believe that government shouldn't be involved in personal decisions. Also, it's financial. How much can we sustain as a society, Pap, the costs regarding death? The last 15 days of a person's life account for over 80%, maybe 85% of Medicare and Medicaid funds. In other words, an incredible majority of the funds are being spent not to cure anyone, but just to prolong life by a couple days or weeks. Society can't withstand that. So those 2 things go into those 3 things: freedom, the right of people to make their own decisions, and money are going into that.
Jeff, the limitations that I see is, first of all, the person has to be, I think, by way of 2 doctors, have to confirm that they're less than 6 months away from inevitable death. These are general ideas, and that they have the right to go buy the medication, to do it themselves, and in the end may choose not to do it. I mean, there's no point that when you make the choice that it has to take place. What are these limitations that you're saying, are the guidelines that you're saying? How would you add to these guidelines as far as what's happening nationally in legislation?
Well, the guidelines are sort of silly. First of all, nobody can predict whether you're going to live 6 months or 6 years. Everybody's different. That's like, and also the idea that doctors should give pills and then walk away from the patient. I agree with Kevorkian in that was silly. If you're going to have a doctor help you, you should make sure that when it comes time that it really gets done, because the pills walking away produce some real problems. You might not do the deed. Finally, having that choice, you got to understand, and people don't understand this. They want the choice. They don't inevitably go and do it. In fact, most of Kevorkian's patients never got the help. They just wanted to know that if they needed it at the end, they could have it. That provides an emotional solace that's far more beneficial than just about anything else. So most patients don't go through with it, but there shouldn't be restrictions on doctors being present. The 6 months is an arbitrary and capricious category, and you got to, of course, be mentally competent. And then there's the problem with children, too. You've got a real problem with children. Parents making decisions about terminally ill children. Of course, we make these decisions every day. And by the way, hospice, as a result of Kevorkian and a little what I did, right now in hospice treatment, you can get, and you couldn't before, you can get as much morphine as you want. You can push the button on the morphine, and you can overdose yourself without anybody looking crossways at you. And that's the result solely of Kevorkian.
Yeah, Jeff, let me ask you this. I'm sure doctors call you from time to time trying to find out what they need to do decision making. What do you recommend doctors should do in states where physician-assisted suicide is not legal if they have a terminally ill patient that wants to end their life for very, very good reasons? What would you tell them? Most
doctors can give the drugs basically for pain, assuming the pain is an element of the disease, and they can refer to hospice. And good doctors, caring doctors will become involved. Scared doctors, and remember, this is all about scaring doctors to make the patient suffer. So all the states that prohibit it are really intimidating doctors, not the patients. The patients are going to try to do whatever they need to do because suffering is not a good thing. And some doctors don't like to be intimidated. Some are scared as rabbits. So they're all different.
In about a minute, Jeff, tell me this. What model have we seen internationally, or nationally or internationally, that you would say is proof that this is probably a pretty good system?
It's been running for years in Holland, the Dutch system. England's got a modified system. The Scandinavians have a modified system. People aren't being killed. The idea of a slippery slope doesn't exist. And frankly, it's been legal in Oregon now for over a decade. And you can see there's none of this so-called slippery slope. It's not really a problem. And it's going to happen, Pap. It is 100% going to happen because, bottom line, money.
Yeah. Jeff Fieger, thank you for joining me. You are one of America's finest attorneys. The fight you started here really does matter, and it'll matter going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Pap.